7-year anniversary episode of We Only Look Thin.
Yay!
I thought you were going to laugh and be like, ha, we are laughing. We are laughing. Hi, this is We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel. I am a Tiny Habits certified coach, a Thrive Global certified coach.
Yeah.
I've lost over 100 pounds, and I guess I've kept it off for over 8 years, 9 years. I don't even know. The podcast is 7 years. Everything else is up to consideration. But with me today is
Donald Weigel, and I am also one of the hosts of this show. I've lost about 100 pounds, kept it off for about 7 years, and here we go.
7 years.
Yes, 7-year anniversary. This is episode 365, which means we've been doing this every week for 7 years.
Like, literally, we have not missed an episode in 7 years. We have been showing up like the post office. Rain, snow, sickness, health, rich, poor, whatever. We have, oh, that's marriage. We have shown up like, but who does that?
Also,
who has never had a sick day in 7 years?
I know. And, you know, here's the good news. So it's 2025 now. And we've got flying cars. That's one good thing.
Wasn't George Jetson born this year?
Yeah,
or
this
something
year.
Like that?
I can't
or was
remember.
Last year, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, so we now have flying cars, and if you wanted to listen to a different episode of this show every day this year, you would have no repeats.
Ooh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because we have that many episodes now.
Wow! Congratulations, and honestly. Congratulations or thank you to Donald Weigel, who is Captain Electricity. If you didn't know how to edit the show and do all the electric stuff, I would just be a woman in my living room with a blanket on my lap, which is literally what I am right now talking.
Yeah,
but
it's like
you make
it's like a Slumdog Millionaire situation. It's like all of the hobbies and like going to school and editing audio in college and working at the college radio station. It's all led to this moment.
And for all I bring is 40 years of overeating. And so it all came together.
Don't downplay that, because that really is important.
We did the research, everybody.
We wouldn't be here without that.
Yeah. So, but really,
we'd be doing a true crime podcast or something.
We would. But the only crime, I don't know. I actually have no follow up to that. Thank you. No, but Donald, thank you so much for making the podcast production happen.
Well, you're much better at the actual giving people advice on weight loss part than I am.
Well, I'm the bossy one and you're the electricity guy. But also, I'm going to say it, congratulations to our listeners as well. Many of you have been here from the start. I know who you are. I don't know, that sounded really accusatory.
I know who you are.
No, but I don't know if people know this, but when we started, we didn't really have a closer. It was just like, well, goodbye. And that's how we would end. But so many people said we were an inspiration that it was sort of funny. And then we ended up with the Inspirationation thing. And I don't know.
It's still, for the record, a joke.
It's still a joke. And the only reason
we do the fade out with our own voices.
And the reason that is because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to make that happen.
I could make it happen in post, but it's much funnier if we just do it.
What do they call it? Practical effects?
Yeah, practical effects. That's right. Instead of CGI.
It was a practical effect. So it was funny, but that's where it came from. But you all are inspirations as well. You have been here all along. And for our new listeners also, welcome and thank you for being here. And welcome to the club. You can listen right now and get, like Donald said, 365 episodes.
Yeah, we always have sort of a downtick in downloads towards the Christmas holiday season.
Yeah.
And then in January it jumps back up. So if you're coming back to the show, if you're new to the show, welcome.
Welcome and happy-ish New Year. And today we are actually going to focus on a listener email.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since we've done one, but this year we are ringing in the new year with listener and weight loss success story, Alan.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Alan.
Alan says that he is an Irishman living in Northern California, so I'm going to try to read his email in an Irish accent.
Do not. Don't do it. If we were watching a program last night with an Irish actress, and she had an American accent.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to ask you to have an American accent right now. If she can do it, you can also do it.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I will try and do my best American accent.
Yes,
as I read it.
Please do that. So, welcome to the new year. We are going to read this email, but it is universal. Alan from Ireland, it has a universal question that applies to us all. So don't think of this as like, oh, great, Alan gets the spotlight, everybody. This applies to everybody.
Do you think people were thinking that?
I don't know. Maybe there's some emails we haven't addressed yet, and people are mad at us.
Yeah, maybe. Although, I would guess the vast majority of people here, if they wanted to have an email turn into an episode, they would have to write us one first.
No, but they're okay. Anyway, this is about Alan, everybody. Let's just focus on Alan. That's what we're going to do. And I think you're going to have a good time doing it as well. So Donald is going to start off by reading Alan's email.
Yeah, I'm going to read the important parts of the email. So first of all, he says, "Hello, I love your show," which of course, is the most important part of this email. He says, "It has been so helpful. And in the past year, since January, this would be January of 2024, listening to you and not giving up has helped me lose nearly 30 pounds. Yay!
Inspiration-ation. Congratulations.
I know, for sure. I have another 20 to go. My current weight is about 184. My target is 150. This is after many tried and failed attempts over the years. My cholesterol has been creeping up, and in January, I decided to make a change for good and build lifelong sustainable habits, but I'm a little stuck. I've noticed that once I hit the 30-pound mark, I hit this psychological wall where any lower felt unachievable. Combine this with a few vacations spread over several months, and I see a pattern emerge.
Very relatable.
I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but he goes on to talk about how essentially he's had a couple of back-to-back vacation-ish situations, and he tends to gain about 2 pounds a week while he's on vacation. And I maybe should save this for later, but if you can get through a week of vacation and only gain 2 pounds,
must be nice to be Alan.
That's a victory because I tend to gain significantly more than that in a week on vacation. I think the problem is twofold. I haven't maintained discipline during special occasions like vacation and friends visiting. And two, I notice a fatalism creeping in that I'll never get past 180. So why should I even try? Anyway, I welcome any thoughts, ideas you have, and fully understand if you don't even reply to this, you must get lots of emails. Well, here we are replying verbally. We showed you, Alan.
But we like a challenge. Like, I bet you won't even. Or like, oh, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Most of the people I email wouldn't even reply to this.
Yeah,
We'll see who our real podcast friends are.
We are up to the challenge. So, Alan, thank you first. And I'm going to say this as just universal. First of all, writing down what is going on and what you think is going on is a very good first step in kind of untangling the issues that you have. And as it is the new year, 2025, I don't know.
Flying cars.
Yeah.
Imagine the flying cars.
Flying cars. As it is the new year, I think Alan's issues are relatable to so many of us. One, that idea of that invisible force field that we can't seem to break through.
Yeah.
And then two, the distractions that we have from obviously being very popular and international, like a world traveler like
goodness.
Alan.
All these trips and friends visiting. It's overwhelming.
Must be nice to be Alan.
Yeah. So step one is become a much bigger jerk so that people don't want to hang out with you or
move to a less good place.
Yeah. Or go on vacation with you or anything like that. Yeah.
Jay, kidding, everybody. But I think
oh, we're kidding?
Yeah, we are. But it is the new year, and Alan obviously had a successful 2024, but with some setbacks, and I think so many of us can relate to that. So as we are starting 2025, we thought that this was a really great place to sort of start with kind of that clean slate, looking at things differently, and really breaking past those barriers we might have set for ourselves in 2024. And I know that we have talked about it many times, but first of all, and just sort of breaking down Alan's email, first he talks about being in the 180s and having a goal weight of 150.
Yeah.
And I think I have done this so many times of having a really big, maybe unrealistic initial goal to get for ourselves. We have this really big goal. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever it is. It's a really big target to try to hit from very far away. And something that I switched up in my last time joint venture when I started in January of 2016 was, what would it take for me to lose 5 pounds?
Yeah.
And 5 pounds, even 1 pound, is a much more realistic target than trying to hit this like giant, never achieved before goal of a 20 or 30 pound weight loss. And so perhaps starting out with a smaller goal would help keep it right in front of you. Because if you're like, well, people are coming to visit, I need to lose 30 pounds, but I can just put it off a week because I can lose 30 pounds later. I'll just get through this one visit and then I'll focus on it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that we have this idea, and I know I have had it, is that we have to do this in a big hurry.
Yeah.
That we set this kind of deadline for ourselves. And if we're losing, a quarter of a pound a week average, but we think we should be losing, 3, 4, 5 pounds a week, we get frustrated and give up instead of just focusing on the fact that if we continue to lose that quarter pound a week or whatever it is, if we can average that, eventually the weight will come off and we will get where we want to go if we just have a little bit of patience and focus on the long haul and the big goal rather than getting frustrated that we're not getting somewhere fast enough.
Right. So first of all, there are no deadlines, but also it is impossible to try to predict weight loss for 52 weeks. Right? We go like, okay, it's 2025, 25, like 2025 and 25. Like, oh, I could lose 25 pounds this year. Like, that sounds great. And having like a jingle or a motto or, a temporary tattoo of a magical rhyming number isn't really helpful. It sounds good, but it's not practical. So an invitation that we are going to make to Alan and all of you and to ourselves is what we say time and time again, which is look at what's right in front of you and make practical choices and strategies for the next 4, 6, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Don't think about forever or okay, it's January, so I'm going to start losing a pound a week immediately, like the holidays are behind me. Let's not look at what we think we should be doing, but look at our actual lives. And I'm going to quote an actual doctor.
What?
Yep.
A medical doctor?
A medical doctor from Canada. So,
does that count?
It does.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
I
disavow
know.
myself of whatever Donald just said. So,
Yeah.
Yoni Freedhoff, author of The Diet Fix, a quote from his book is, "From this day forward, you're going to identify yourself as a person grounded in reality, and reality allows for imperfection. To strive to be ideal at anything immediately sets you up for failure." And whether there was a comma there or not, it still works both ways. So preparing for actual life is grounded in reality instead of an ideal. And oftentimes there's a disconnection between what we think we should be able to do and then our reality. And so many times we just go like, well, this is obviously isn't the right time to focus on my weight because I've got friends.
Right.
Like until they all go away, there's no way I can lose weight. That's not practical, everybody. So being practical means looking at the next 4 to 8 weeks and deciding what you can do based on your actual schedule.
Yeah. And one thing to be careful of is looking at the next 4 to 8 weeks does not mean looking ahead and going, I'm going to lose 15 pounds by this time. And a pattern that I would fall into over and over again is I would set a date.
Yeah.
And I would be like, I'm going to lose 15 pounds by this date or 20 pounds by this date or whatever it was. And then a week or two would go by and I would be, in air quotes, behind schedule. And so I would think I need to like reduce my calorie deficit even lower and exercise even harder. And it's this vicious cycle of like, you can't possibly keep up with that pace. And so setting a deadline for yourself is is basically setting yourself up for failure from the beginning.
Right. Because when you realize 2 weeks in that you haven't lost any and then you've got to lose more weight, like, okay, well, now I've got to lose 3 pounds a week and 5 pounds a week.
Right.
You end up just giving up. And I managed that pattern, like that was a good thing. I fell into that trap year after year of overpressuring myself and not being realistic. So everyone is listening to this right now. Hello, welcome. Here is the advice that we would give as you're approaching January and February, or as you're approaching your goals. Get on the scale. Where are you on the scale? It is a number. It is a data point. It is not a life sentence. It is just where you are right now. After that, get out your calendar. We did an episode, I think it was episode 359, Math Potatoes.
Yes.
Where we talked, and we literally just did this, where we talked about looking at the next 6 weeks and looking realistically at everything that's coming up. When do you have people coming to visit? When do you have business travel? Are there birthdays, parties, events that are coming up? Planning around those. What weeks might it make sense to just eat at maintenance? Like, okay, this isn't really a weight loss week, but it is a maintenance week. What are those small pockets of time where eating at a deficit seems more realistic? I don't have any big events coming up. I'm not traveling. And being like, looking at 6 weeks and going, oh, there are 3 deficit weeks and 3 maintenance weeks. Okay, that's very realistic. I know what my plan is. I know what my calorie targets are. That feels a lot better than pushing for deficit week after week and then failing every time because you're not taking into account all of the travel and events that you have coming up.
Yeah, and I think we've done other episodes about planning, obviously. 365 surprises, 366 surprises was the follow-up. And then we did an episode called I'm a Carby Girl, where we talked about various P words, including planning. So I'll link to some of those in the show notes.
Right. And also there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out about having a schedule that isn't predictable, because Alan does talk about not having maintained discipline during special occasions. So I am going to ask first that we change the wording around discipline.
Yeah.
And talk about having some standards. We just did an episode called Holly Jolly Policies. And again, Donald mentioned Carby Girl, where we talk about, it's not about discipline or willpower or grit, or if I really wanted this, I would push really hard. It's about having some standards. And an episode that we did about vacation a long time ago, I don't know, just look up vacation, it's in there. I talked about asking yourself the question, are you taking a vacation from your habits or with your habits?
Yeah.
Right? Are you like leaving that guy behind and the real guy is, the super fun guy who eats all the things? There is a balance to be made there and like we're just about to go on vacation right now as we're recording this, I am going on vacation with my habits. And that means prioritizing 10 out of 10 food opportunities, not just snacking the second I get to the airport.
Yeah, the one thing you don't have to worry about though is super fun me showing up, because I don't know that version exists.
But that idea of I'm going on vacation, I'm going to focus on prioritizing activity. I'm going to focus on trying to eat some sort of vegetable or fruit every day to add fiber. I'm going to save alcohol for after 5 p.m. Little things like that aren't rigid, but they are like, yeah, you know what? I do my best when I'm not full of carbs at 6 o'clock in the morning and drinking already. Like that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So again, look at that. And then for having people come to visit or having friends, which I guess is something people do.
That's mistake number one.
Right. Is looking at ways that you can take charge of how you spend your time with people. There are definitely like, hey, we have friends who are like, okay, we're going drinking. It's Saturday morning. The game is on. Let's start drinking.
Yeah, we have friends, and maybe everyone has these friends who plan, like I tend to plan all activities around food. We have friends who plan all activities around whether they can drink or not.
Right. So looking at that and taking some accountability there of splitting the difference of, you know what, I've got people coming this weekend. We're all hanging out. It's 3 days. You know what? I'm going to limit alcohol to just Saturday. Or I'm going to, instead of going out to eat on Sunday morning, let's go walk to the coffee shop or go for a hike and then do something, non-food related. Instead of having every single event be food related, have some activity in there so that you're balancing it out a little bit. It doesn't mean like, oh, well, I'm on this diet and I can't do anything fun. It's just about making a couple of tweaks so that you're like, if you're eating over 1 day a week instead of 4 days a week, like, yay, that is a success.
Absolutely.
Taking back a little bit of control really does matter. Okay, so we have a few episodes on weekends that might be helpful. We've got Friday to the Danger Zone about taking back control. We've got Weekend Warrior, which is another episode about how to manage weekend habits. And then we have a few alcohol episodes, 5 o'clock somewhere and Save Your Beers for Another Day, which all tie into making some policies around imbibing and celebrating. So hopefully those will help.
I think our episode titles are funny. I don't know if anyone else does.
I think they're fun. Though I was looking back at some going like, wait, what was this episode about? It was clever at the time. Oh, well, what are you going to do? It's been 7 years. How can we change it now? We can't. It's too late.
It's true.
Okay. But finally, sort of taking control of our habits is about what we do after the indulgent event. We did an episode called Landing Gear, which I'm sorry, Donald, to list so many episodes.
I'm not listing all of these.
Where we talk about what we do after an event matters almost more than the event itself.
You get a link to like 4 episodes in the show notes.
That's your max. Okay, that's fine. But looking at what our strategy is for returning from holiday, returning from an indulgent weekend matters so much. Getting right back on track might mean after, and this just happened to me, when the week that I get back from vacation, it's unrealistic to think that I'm going to suddenly eat at a deficit. So the week after vacation, my plan is maintenance. Like that leads me into success instead of setting expectations too high. Having a plan for your return, what foods are you going to have in the house? What activity are you going to get? What kind of, strategies are you going to put in place matters a lot. So go back to the Landing Gear episode to learn more about how to reassimilate after you have come back from vacation.
Yeah. And also just in a bigger picture sense, gaining 2 pounds or eat 5 pounds, 7 pounds after a week on vacation is much less important than what you do the other, 50 weeks of the year if you have 2 weeks of vacation or whatever. I'm not going to keep doing variations on how many weeks of vacation you have, but it's much more important what you do the rest of the time than just over those, blips of vacation weeks.
Exactly. And if you're looking at the full year, and this is a good place to start as well, is what seasons seem to be easier for you to lose weight? Is January, February kind of quiet and there's not much going on? And that's a great time to focus on weight loss. Whereas maybe in the early part of the summer and there's lots of travel, maybe that is a time to focus on maintaining. We're not the same person 365 days a year. So knowing like, yeah, you know what? Fall is generally easier for me. Winter is easier for me, but then spring and summer are kind of maintenance times for me. Looking at that and looking at last year and seeing how that worked can really kind of help you recognize that you don't always have to be in a season of weight loss. And maybe maintenance makes sense right now. Maybe being in the 180s, like you said, is kind of like, yeah, that's going to be where I am until things settle down a little bit more in March. And then I'll focus on a few weeks of a deficit. So being realistic helps ground us and helps us not feel like a victim of popularity. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so snide. Like, oh, he has as many as 10 friends on Facebook.
I know. I'm just always jealous of anyone who has more than one friend. My only friend is my wife.
Oh, God. That is not true. That is not true. But being realistic helps us not look at that 30-pound weight loss goal, but what can I do in the next few weeks toward my goal?
And also, I just wanted to point out that what I thought my goal weight was,
good point,
when I started this was not realistic. Like I don't like saying numbers on this show too much. Maybe I did in the early days.
It's 7-year anniversary, 365. You've been doing nothing but numbers.
I know, but I mean, what I mean is that for Alan, 183 is not his goal weight, but for others, 183 would be like ecstatic over the moon to be there. So that's why I don't like to say numbers. But my goal weight, in my mind, was about 20 pounds lower than was actually realistic, as it turns out. And so I've settled into a range. And again, it's not a number. There isn't like a number that you hit and then you just stay there. Like my weight varies depending on the season of the year, the season of my life, at various things. Like I go up and down in a range, but it turned out that what I had in my head as my goal weight was not realistic. So it may be true for you too that he says he wants to get down to 150, but maybe in reality, that's 160 or 165 is a much more realistic, place to be.
Right. So just because we can hit a goal weight with sharp, intense focus,
yes,
doesn't mean that is going to work for us in the long run.
That's a better way to say it.
So again, doing that, like, what does 1 pound look like? What does another pound look like? Like, let's just focus on 5 pounds at a time instead of that big goal. So now we're going to address, and this should be a little bit shorter, now we're going to address the part where he talks about feeling like there is a force field, magic number that he can't get through. Sort of like in Star Wars, there's this force field and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader are fighting and Luke can't get through. And he's like, oh, no. Never mind. I'm mixing up my.
That's Phantom Menace.
Okay, Phantom Menace,
and it's Qui-Gon fighting fighting Darth Maul. My goodness!
Oh no!
I think like all of your nerd cred just went out the window.
I'm sorry. Who can tell a Jedi from another? I'm sorry. I'm very embarrassed.
I can.
Okay, so Obi-Wan Kenobi is like ready to get in the fight, but there's a force field and he can't get through it. And so it's fine. It's all good. Okay. So when we feel like there is a block that we have told ourselves we can't get through a certain thing, I have definitely been there. A lot of times getting down under 200, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting into Wonderland. Like, how can I even do that? We associate certain numbers on the scale with other times of our life. Oh, well, the last time I got to 180, then I started gaining. The last time I was this weight, this was what my life looked like. And we can tie those old stories to certain numbers and what they mean about who we are. So in Thrive Global, we talk about these sort of ideas about the weights that we are or what it means as being a paradigm, the things that we think about that might hold us back, a limiting idea. And when we think, I can't get past 180, that sets our brain up for like, all right, you can't do it, so you might as well not even try, because like whatever, like, ugh. That's not in the training from Ariana Huffington. She doesn't do that. But when we tell ourselves something is impossible, we go and try to prove that it is. There's also kind of a fear about it. Like, well, what does it mean if I get to 179? Am I going to be able to sustain that? Like, oh my gosh, what if I'm a failure? And what if I'm not happy at that weight? So we go back and sabotage ourselves.
Yeah. And another desire is that I think deep down, we all just want to eat as much as we want and whatever we want, whenever we want. And so if we can prove to ourselves that it's impossible to hit a goal weight, that allows us the freedom to then just eat whatever we want and as whenever we want, etc. And so we try. I've seen it over and over again. People just saying, well, these are all the reasons I can't do it. Change my mind,
Right.
with their arms crossed.
So this is something that I did to kind of counteract that fear of that barrier between one weight and another. And I would ask, again, as we're looking at our calendar for the year, and Alan, as you're looking at yours, when realistically do you have a time where you have little travel, few interruptions, that it's like it seems like it will be a good time to focus on your habits? Focusing on your habits is kind of the most important part of this. So let's say that in February, you have maybe a 2 to 3 week time where there isn't much going on. You don't have any travel. This is a time, as you're approaching it, to maybe take a break from the scale. Let's say that you're at about 182 pounds at the beginning of February. Stepping away from the scale and deciding not to weigh yourself for a few weeks gives you the opportunity to just focus on the habits. And this is assuming that you can actually maybe see this as a small push, a season of a little bit of sacrifice and, discipline that you were talking about, of I'm not going to look at the scale, but I'm going to do the things that will help me lose weight, which is eat at a deficit, stick to, veggies and protein, high fiber, and really challenge yourself to say like, hey, you know what, this weekend, I'm not going to go overboard. I'm not going to eat at maintenance. I'm actually going to eat at a deficit. Sorry, all the friends that I have. This is a time where I'm going to be focusing on a deficit, and push past the number. Wait 3 weeks to get on the scale, focus on the habits, and you might find that you're at 178 and you've already passed that barrier, but you haven't had to look the barrier in the eye. Like it's like sleeping through a time zone, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like on an airplane.
No, I like that.
Like you don't have to suddenly experience it. You just push past it. And I did this when I went down under 200 pounds. I was very worried about like what it would mean and the pressure of it. So focusing on a few weeks of sticking vigilantly to the habits, weighing and measuring things, hitting my step goal, eating lots of vegetables, drinking lots of water, pushed me through that barrier and helped me, not hyper focus on the number, but rather focus on the habits. So whatever barrier you're facing, focusing on the habits helps us. Because that's what it is. Like the number is a reflection of the habits. So if you have a small period of time where you can focus on that, and it might not be for a little while, it might not be for a month or two, that's okay. But know that stepping away from the scale and having a focus on the habits can really help you push past that barrier. And also know that you might go up above that barrier again. Making a promise never to go up again also isn't realistic of well, now I'm in the 170s. I'm never getting back up to 180. Our numbers are just a reflection of the habits that we have. So you might go back up again, but then look at again at a season, the trend over time by the end of the year, I bet you could get below 170. It might go up and down a little bit, but the trend over 12 months could prove to get you comfortably into the 170s, which again, today, I would love to be in the 170s. That would be great from losing 8 pounds over the year. Hooray for me. It's not linear. There might be some ups and downs, but the trend by the end of the year, I bet you'll see some success.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for everyone listening, look at the next few weeks. Is this a time to stabilize your weight, maintain your weight, or is your calendar clear and is it a good time to focus on a deficit? each month, really, we have the opportunity to look at the weeks ahead of us and plan accordingly. Like Yoni Freedhoff said, being realistic means anticipating, adapting, and being realistic about what we can expect from ourselves. Just because there is no finish line, nor is there a deadline, doesn't mean that we can take action for the weeks right in front of us. Remember, we are not like taking a vacation from our habits. We are taking our habits with us wherever we go. And we have the opportunity to have agency, to prioritize certain things over others, and to get past all of our limiting beliefs and adapt. If you're taking anything away from this, it might be asking yourself in any moment, what can I do to advocate for myself right now? Not forever, not for the rest of the year, but what does just the coming day, the coming week look like? And what investments can I make now? The future is uncertain. Obviously, there is no way to plan for 365 days, but we can look right in front of us and see what we can do right now. And that might be maintenance. And that is great. Maintaining the rest of the year is much better than gaining 10 pounds over the year.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So be realistic about what's in front of you. Push yourself to let go of those limiting beliefs and advocate for your habits and for yourself. And I know that if Donald can do it, and I can do it, we know that Alan and all of our dear listeners can do it too.
Yeah, I mean, 8-9 years ago, I guess it's more like 9 years ago, no one seemed less likely to be able to do this than me. I'll tell you that much for sure. Thank you so much for listening. We are really grateful that you decided to start your year off with an episode of We Only Look Thin. And the most recent 300 episodes of our show are all available on all of the major podcast platforms. And you can go back all the way to episode 1 if you go to YouTube or to our website. And let me just say also, we were talking about all of the episodes, that relate to this topic. If you go to our website, and there's a search box on there, if you throw in a term like family or vacation or anything,
policies,
boundaries, policies, there will be episodes that come up. If we've done an episode on it, and we probably have at this point, it will show up. And you can do that on our website, which I haven't said the name yet, weonlylookthin.com.
Yep, and if you are at weonlylookthin.com, click on that link for Join Our Support Group to find out more about Wolt Place. We Only Look Thin Place is our Facebook-based accountability group for women. I know I keep saying that it is a Facebook group, but really it is an opportunity to have weekly Zoom meetings and coaching with me. If Facebook isn't really your jam or jelly, whatever it is,
Preserves.
Yeah. If Facebook isn't super attractive to you, having weekly, sometimes more than weekly, Zoom meetings with me to stay in the weight loss mindset really is helpful. That is a huge resource. So if you're interested, check out our website. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
So please check it out. And you can also check us out on social media, the aforementioned Facebook and Instagram at We Only Look Thin. You can also send us an email just like Alan did. You can do that to weonlylookthin@gmail.com. As you've seen, we have turned listener emails into episodes of the show. We will do our best to answer your questions. If you just want to reach out and say hello, give us a compliment, we also enjoy that and would like to hear from you. Once again, weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep. And if you have a couple of extra minutes, please head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review. Not only does it let us know that what we are doing after 7 years and 365 episodes is making a difference in your life, but it also helps boost our ratings and helps other people find our show. I know we are getting new listeners all the time from different places on the internet and the dark web. And we appreciate everyone giving us a shout out. And it really does help us know that what we're doing is making a difference. So please take a minute to leave us a rating and a review.
Yeah, even listeners who are from Ireland but live in Northern California are finding this show, and we appreciate it. You can also help us out if you just tell somebody about the show. If you're in a conversation, if you know somebody who might get something out of it and you mention the show, that really helps us out. Or if you are in a Facebook group, a Discord server, a Reddit subgroup, and it makes sense to give us a shout out, we really do appreciate it. It is one of the best ways that helps attract new listeners to the show, and we would be grateful.
Yep. So if you're like us and a little bit envious of Alan's business, international travel, weight loss, and innumerable friends, just remember that Donald, Alan, and I are an inspiration.
I don't need any new friends.
So many friends. Oh my gosh. Must be nice.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.